Herd, and welcome to another episode of our regular exclusive, our 10 Things series, 10 Things We Love About, and in each episode we break down the things we love about a different Star Wars movie, and we've been going in chronological order, and so hard to believe, but we are now on episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, and so today that's what we're going to do. We're going to sit down and we're going to talk Empire Strikes Back and the things we love, and as always with this series we encourage all of our listeners, both Patreon, because this is an exclusive early access to Patreon, but also those that eventually see it on YouTube. All of you guys, we want to hear what you love about this as well. This isn't just meant to be the John and Megan show. This is all that we love, and we're right. You know, these are the things we love, and not really a particular order. We will say number one's number one, but for everything else, it's just things we love, and reasons to watch it, reasons to rewatch it, reasons why it's great. And so we're not saying that our list is right or perfect, and we encourage you to share your list with us, because we'd love to know what things make you love Empire Strikes Back, and
what makes it the best movie in the world, too.
Exactly, because that is a fact. Because one of the things we love doing most with the podcast is not just sharing our things, but hearing other people's things, and there's nothing better than hearing why people love Star Wars the way they do, why they love it at all. Those are just great stories that we enjoy. So, but I am your herd leader, John Wayne. It's about time we introduce ourselves.
You jumped the gun with the Clone Wars rewatch. Now you gotta make up for it with the intro to this one.
Yes.
I'm Megan. Hi. I'm your herd mom.
Yes. And so, yeah, I mean, this is, we did 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, no, 1, 2, 3, Solo, Rogue One, 4. So this is the 7th episode of this, so... Yep. There shouldn't be too much that you don't already know and that I didn't already just say. So we'll just go right into our favorite thing. Well, I mean, I think we can... It's my favorite Star Wars film. Yes. It's my favorite film. It's a masterpiece to me.
Oh yeah, it's an incredible film.
So I know and I know you love it as far as Star Wars goes.
It was the first Star Wars movie I ever watched. Yeah,
so there you go. You started right.
I did.
And so, and for a lot of people, this is the best Star Wars movie. Mm-hmm. Now, again, but just because it's our favorite and we gush about it, and just because we say we like certain things on this list, it's not to say, I mean, if you like Last Jedi, if that's your favorite Star Wars, or if Rogue One is your favorite, if The Phantom Menace is your favorite, all of those are completely valid because they're your favorites. Mm-hmm. So we're not here to change anybody's mind or anything like that. Each episode is just about celebrating Star Wars. Each episode that we have currently, at this rate, will probably finish this series before Episode 9 comes out. But we'll sit down and talk about that one as well. But I mean, we love all of Star Wars, so it's easy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, a lot of fans really, really love this one. But we don't want to make it about 10 things we think you should, or 10 reasons we think you should think Empire is the best of Star Wars.
It is up to you, homie.
It is up to you.
Yeah, I've always said there's no such thing as guilty pleasures. There's no such thing as a wrong answer.
There is such a thing as guilty pleasures.
Unless it's immoral or illegal, there's no such thing as guilty pleasures.
There you go. You gotta have that stipulation these days.
No one should ever make you feel bad about something that you like. Right. Just like there's no wrong reason. What's your favorite movie?
Right. But what we hope with all of these episodes, and part of the reason to sit down and talk about our favorite things about them, are that maybe that's perspective. Maybe we like it for a reason you haven't thought of. Mm-hmm. And that's also why we ask you to share, because, hey, you didn't mention this, but I really like this about da-da-da. And it's like, oh, I never thought of that. That's actually, that adds to my appreciation.
Exactly.
It's really just all conversation starter.
Yeah. The only wrong thing is those BuzzFeed articles where they're like, 10 things you've been doing wrong your entire life. Where it should be 10 things you've been doing differently your entire life. Jerk.
Yeah, why you gotta be so shameful?
Why you gotta be my
BuzzFeed.
5th grade math teacher?
Ooh, that's
doing it
specific.
wrong. I'm doing it differently, Karen.
Well, speaking of Karen, starting with you as we tend to with your number 5.
I got a mouthful of coffee. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So why don't you start us off? What's your 5th favorite thing? And as of the time of making this list, because I think we can actually go back to older episodes,
Yeah.
and already change our lists. So
Oh, absolutely.
I have to now add that asterisk. 10 things we love about Empire Strikes Back, for now.
For now, I think my number 1 when we did The Phantom Menace was Maul, and I think that still stands to this day.
Yeah, I want to say it was. I do. That was on the podcast. If you've joined us by watching these videos on YouTube. And even if you joined on Patreon...
This is why our episodes are like an hour long. Sorry. Keep
Yeah.
going.
Our first episode was about the Phantom Menace because it's
Yeah.
the first episode. We did that as a kind of teaser on our podcast first.
Yes.
Back in December of last year. So if you are wondering why that's not been on YouTube or why that hasn't come up on Patreon, that's because we did the first one free.
Exactly.
So everything else is on Patreon or YouTube, though. And just to cover that, if you're watching this on YouTube and I keep mentioning Patreon and you're confused, it's because patrons get this episode a month before you do.
Yeah.
That is a perk of them supporting the show financially and all kinds of other things. They actually get a whole bunch of stuff. So if you just love this so much and love what we do and want to be a part of it and want to contribute to it...
Yeah, whoever pledges the most on Patreon gets to name our first child.
I didn't agree to that. It'd have to be a big amount, probably $600 to $666.66.
This is my son, Rebecca.
So anyway, but yes, head over to Patreon to check that out, so that you can get this when it first comes out, because our patrons are going to be talking about it, and you're going to be like, I didn't know, because, yeah, get on Patreon, Jim.
All the cool kids are.
The other Jim, the Jim with a G. Anyway, Gim. Yes, also pronounced Gim. Anyway, so you're number 5.
Anyway, my number 5 is, and has always been, seeing more of the rebellion. I love seeing the rebellion in action. And in the future, I love seeing the resistance in action. I just love seeing this pocket of, hope and resistance to the system in action. Like, we hear so much about the rebellion in A New Hope. We hear, Princess Leia talking about it. We hear various members of the Empire talking about crushing the resistance when they're only in the last...
It's the final battle,
yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's all we get from the from the rebellion in A New Hope. But in the Phantom Menace...
In the Phantom Menace?
In the Phantom Menace, we see Anakin Skywalker. I almost did it again. In Empire, we see...
Somebody's thinking about Phantom Menace.
I have a mouthful of
because it's the
coffee.
greatest movie.
It is great.
It's fantastic.
We get to see a full-out, just ground battle and air battle with the Rebellion and the Empire. The Battle of Hoth is one of the best pieces of film in the world. You can fight me. I will fight you tooth and nail.
Or you could go back to our intro where we're not fighting about this.
No, we're not. Yeah. It's one of the greatest pieces of film in the world.
I agree. I mean, what's so interesting is how little of the war is always in Star Wars. And I think that's what's so interesting about the Clone Wars, is because it's the first actual... It's
all war.
Yeah, I mean, because most of it, you are on the fringe of war.
Yeah.
But you're following your group of people, your team of heroes, and sometimes villains, but you're focused in. Yeah. And in A New Hope, it's the same way. Even in Empire, really, after the Battle of Hoth, that's kind of it for the rebellion. Yeah. It's just our heroes. They're kind of separated, and Han and Leia are trying to escape the Empire, and Luke's trying to become a Jedi, and all this stuff. And then again, in Return of the Jedi, and it's a reminder that this story is intimate and personal. It's not all about the Skywalker family, but what makes Star Wars so great is, while there is action and it can be really, really cool, There's also this really, really great personal story. There's this intimate story. There's a story where, I mean, because you can kind of see yourself in the big picture battle. Like, oh, I want to be on this side because they're fighting this side,
You
and they're
always wanted
bad.
to be a pilot.
But, and so, like, you can kind of see yourself there, but I think what's so great about Star Wars is you see yourself more in the individuals.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be Luke Skywalker. Why? Because, you know, X, Y, Z. And that's what's so great. There's so many people to look up to, so many characters to look up to in Star Wars.
So many great actors to look up to.
Yes. Are you trying to transition me?
Yes, because you said we need to keep this short.
Oh, okay. Well, very well.
Sorry, homie.
Fine. But no, I enjoyed seeing more of that because, and I think what? What?
Keep going.
Why?
When I think that you're done with a statement and then you
Nope,
start another one,
it just keeps going.
And I think it's
No.
funny.
You can't stop me now.
I took a sip.
But yeah, no, I think in terms of memorable moments of seeing the war of Star Wars, I agree that Empire, I think, gives us the best war in that aspect because Return of the Jedi, it's just a ragtag infiltration group. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, the most war happening is between bears and stormtroopers. So, yeah, I agree because you see a functional rebellion too. So it's really cool.
It's because Leia's in charge.
Pretty much. I mean, not really, but she's up there.
Yeah.
And what I enjoy about the Star Wars comics right now is we're getting closer and closer to Empire Strikes Back, and so seeing how we get to that point is super interesting. So, yeah. Anyway,
Keep going.
I missed my transition. So moving on, my number 5 is acting. I think that in terms of Star Wars, this is one of the best acted, next to The Last Jedi, and for me.
I get that.
And honestly, it really goes Empire, Last Jedi, and Force Awakens, and then Rogue One, then Episode 3. And that's just in case anybody's wondering what my acting ranking order is.
I wasn't, but thanks.
I've been watching
already
Star
forgotten
Wars
it.
for 20 years, so I kind of have to, like, rank everything and think about everything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of, like, memorable moments in acting and moments that really put me in a kind of wistful state in terms of, like, oh no, you know, I mean, even still, we just watched it the other day when it was on TV, and even still, when things are going on and transpiring and certain tense moments are coming up or certain fun moments, you know, I'm still with it. Like, after so many times of watching this, it's so well done that I'm still 100% invested. And I think it's because of the amazing actors.
Yeah.
And I also think it has to do with the writing. I think a lot was done to understand who these characters are between A New Hope and now.
Yeah.
Even down to Darth Vader.
Yeah. I mean, they had a lot more time to explore these characters. The acting in this film is incredible, like you said. And it's supplemented by beautiful and incredible music by John Williams. I'm surprised that neither of us put that on the list.
Yeah.
I didn't put it on there because I figured that you would do it.
I think we always end up talking about the music, I think, though.
Absolutely. And that says so much, that the scene that sticks out in my mind every time when I think about Star Wars music is the scene where Yoda is lifting the X-Wing out of the bog, and you get that beautiful crescendo of the score, and it's just so fantastic.
Well, and yeah, in terms of memorable music moments, that, and I mean, the Force theme and that are the two big ones.
Yeah.
They're the ones that really, like, just bring out a lot of emotions.
Oh, yeah.
And, but even, you know, and one of the best acted characters in this, I would say, is Yoda.
Exactly.
A
And
puppet.
God bless Frank Oz, not only doing a fantastic acting job, but doing an acting job while doing a voice.
Right.
Which I maintain to this day is just a gruffer form of Miss Piggy. Like,
I mean, kinda.
If you listen to them back and forth, they sound... Miss Piggy is Yoda's granddaughter.
Ah, clearly.
Yeah.
It was from the days before the Jedi Order.
Oh gosh, what?
Before he's the reason they have the Celibacy Act.
I was gonna make a joke about the Gamorrean guards. That's what. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
You
can save that for the Return of the Jedi episode.
Yes, I can. And I will.
But yeah, I mean, Luke in terms of being, he starts off he's much more the hero than he used to be, but then as soon as he gets to Yoda, there's kind of this reversion a little bit in terms of like almost like the spark has gone out because he's now seeing what it takes to be.
Yeah.
He's realizing expectations again, and it's just like it's impossible. I can't do. You got Han and Leia spending a lot of time together, and even with more of Darth Vader, there's just so many layers to how things were stepped up in the real world to bring this fictional world to life. That it honestly continues to stand out to me for that.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Man.
Speaking of good acting.
Well,
it's more like good casting, because he wasn't acting. He was just being himself.
He was just being Billy D. Williams himself. And he remains to this day one smooth Mosukra.
Okay.
Like, I can't say the actual word that I was thinking.
Did you say Mosukra?
Yes, I did. I used to watch a lot of YouTube videos.
Okay.
And
that's part of YouTube I don't know.
This was before cursing was as prevalent on YouTube, so made up a word.
There you go.
I don't even remember what YouTuber made it up.
Who knows? It's lost to the internet.
Yeah.
But anyway, your number 4.
But anyway, my number 4 is Lando.
Yeah.
Lando Calrissian. The handsomest boy in the galaxy. Yeah, he is one of my favorite characters from the original trilogy. I think it's pretty obvious who my favorite character from the original trilogy is, but Lando brings such, like, charm but also he's just a scumbag underneath.
Well,
yeah.
A reformed scumbag, I'll say. I'll defend Lando.
Definitely.
Like, I've always been the kid, now the guy, to defend Lando, because
yeah, absolutely.
I love Lando.
He's great.
And
he definitely redeemed himself.
Oh, yeah. And what they're doing with stories now with first of all, Charles Soule's Lando comic is amazing. The recent Lando Calrissian Age of Republic, really great. In the Star Wars run, him and Sana doing some business and whatnot. It's just multiple points where they're fleshing out this great character. And obviously Solo.
Because he deserves it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of them are so great to add. They really go further to explain. And to the point that what I've always felt is still true in terms of, he was doing what he thought was right. But aside from the moral decisions that he made, he's just a fun character.
Oh, absolutely. And, like, even when we first heard about Solo and we got the casting, I think both of us were a little wary of Donald Glover. Because, like, we love Donald Glover. He's a hilarious comedian. He's a fantastic musician. But we had never seen him in that kind of role before. Yeah, well,
I think I said this on our Solo episode. Like, I had really less than anything. I just saw Community.
Yeah. So funny.
Only about a year ago have I seen any of his stand-up comedy. But now, even still, had I gone in seeing and knowing all that you know, I still wouldn't have believed in him much.
Yeah, but I think all of that kind of faded away. Immediately. Once we saw him at the table, we were like, oh yeah, that's Lando. Yeah, I mean,
Lando and Chewie, I to this day say, stole the show in Solo. And that's not me saying anything bad about Alden or Han Solo himself. I just think that they got some much-deserved limelight, and that won me over for Solo.
Definitely.
I knew I'd love Alden, and I do love Alden.
Absolutely.
Lando was a big surprise.
He needs to buy a new hat. Have you seen those pictures?
Leave him alone.
Old man fisherman. It's my dad's hat. Leave him alone.
He makes more money than all of us. He can do what he wants. He can do what he wants.
I hope he bought a hat at Galaxy's Edge.
Goodness gracious. For Pete's sake. Lando can wear capes. Nobody says anything about his capes.
He looks good in capes, though.
Have you noticed he and Darth Vader are the only ones?
Kira.
Well, yeah, but she's probably dead somewhere.
Darth Maul.
Let's be honest. Nuh-uh. What?
He wears a cape at the end of Solo.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he do.
No, he don't.
He has a hood.
No. I will pull up the pictures in the middle of this episode.
Anyway, so yeah, Lando Calrissian is a fantastic character that deserves the amount of, love that he's getting now and always has.
Yeah.
And, the fleshing out of his character, saying he just had a lot going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even Billy just at Celebration, I love that.
That was so
Number
funny.
one, he was the best part of the panel.
He was, absolutely.
And even him, sharing his frustration of just like, leave him alone. He was doing, he had a lot going on, and he had a plan.
Yeah.
He had a plan to fix it all.
Vader changed
Come on.
Yeah. And the biggest moment of unification in that room was when they flashed the picture of Lando in the Falcon, and everyone just went freaking crazy.
Well, yeah. Well, everybody went crazy for a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I'm so glad for what Lando's getting as a character, what Billy's getting as an actor. Things that I think have always been there, but I think we're able to focus more on now.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. I mean, I think fans are kind of leaning on Lando as a character and Billy as an actor more now that, unfortunately, we're losing some of the original members.
Yeah, I think I've said on the podcast a few times, like, what's gonna happen when they're all gone?
I mean, mourn them, do not miss them, do not celebrate them when they become one with the Force. I mean, it's
okay.
the fact that we can look back, and we'll move on after this for the sake of time, but the fact that we can look over the life of Peter Mayhew and the amount of people he has impacted because he played a walking carpet, and we can look at Carrie Fisher and see how many women she's inspired, how many young girls she's inspired, by just being herself in space. When we can think of how many people believed in themselves and took different risks and opportunities to be involved in things because of Kenny Baker, people who would normally truck themselves out of things because I'm different or I'm, but because they saw someone else doing it and succeeding, they were like, maybe I can,
I mean, even going to imagine how many children and adults have taken up fencing and doing lightsaber tricks with their friends and family because of David Prowse as Darth Vader.
Right. I mean, so many people have done so much and have been so impacted, and so, what a legacy to leave.
Yeah.
And so I think that we have so many beautiful legacies, but obviously we don't want to let go.
They are luminous beings, not this crude matter.
We don't want to let go, though.
Yeah.
And so we hold tightly to Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford and Billy D. Williams and Anthony Daniels and so many more, because at the end of the day, we are fragile, people.
Yeah. Did you see that Harrison Ford pierced Jimmy Fallon's ear on the show?
No.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And he put in a feather earring, too.
Harrison Ford needs to stop.
No, he doesn't. He needs
stop
to keep
Harrison
going.
Ford 2019. But, anyway, but yeah, I think we tend to lean on these other actors that are holding up the legacy when I think we just, as great as it is, I love that people love Lando. Yeah. I love Lando. We love Lando. But we also need to recognize that they don't have to uphold the whole legacy. Yeah. The legacy is still there for Peter, for Carrie, for Kenny, so many amazing people. So, and even one day when, we're in the future and we don't have the original heroes of the trilogy of Star Wars, I mean, the legacy doesn't go away.
Absolutely.
It
no
never
one's
does.
ever really gone.
Exactly.
I've been doing so good with, not getting teary-eyed on the podcast when we talk about stuff.
You're welcome.
I hate you.
You can dry your eyes while I talk about my thing.
Talk about...
Yeah, so my number 4, kind of pulling off of a little bit of my number 5, is about Darth Vader. Because what I love is how much more of a character Darth Vader becomes in Empire Strikes Back. He's not just a villain. He's not just a masked evil person, and whatnot. He's got character, and he rules the screen a lot.
Oh, yeah.
he's out there a lot, and he's showing off. He's choking people. He's killing people. I mean, he's on the battleground. You know,
There's a reason that Darth Vader is the most recognizable villain.
yeah, and here it's not just because of his look. You know, now Darth Vader's personality gets to come out much more, and obviously the reason for that and the emphasis for that is because he's got such a connection to the story that we didn't know. You know, the reveal that he is Luke's father.
Spoilers!
Oh my gosh. It's such a big deal, and you don't get that from a nameless villain, a masked villain, you know.
To the point where it has become such pop culture.
So, yeah, I mean, the links they went to, and it's, of course, you know, more of the wonderful acting of,
David Prowse.
Well, David Prowse, and why is his name escaping me?
I don't know. You should have written it down.
I shouldn't have had to write it down. I should remember this. Oh my gosh.
I don't remember. I'm sorry. I've already said one impressive...
James Earl Jones, gosh.
Thank you.
I kept wanting to say James Arnold Taylor.
He would have.
And James Arnold Taylor is Darth Vader. Hi, guys! Hey, Luke, you're my son!
I'm a pilot, you know.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to get so much shame for that. Goodness
Shame.
gracious. I blame it on the packing
Goose.
and the tiredness. But anyway, you know, the amazing voice work by James Earl Jones, and the amazing body acting. You know, I mean, this has one of my, and I almost put on there, this has one of my favorite lightsaber battles.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's all up to David Prowse, and obviously Mark Hamill's in there as well. But when focusing on the character of Darth Vader, you know, the last battle really didn't show him off to be scary. This showed like he's looming, he's evil, he's got way more power than Luke does, even after hanging out with a green Miss Piggy. So, yeah, I mean, Darth Vader's my favorite. You know, Anakin Vader, that's my favorite character.
Yeah.
And a lot of what made Vader cool to me was this.
How comes we like the bad guys so much?
Because they're cool.
Because they are very cool. Yeah, I mean, like I said, Darth Vader is one of the most recognizable villains in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And he has presence.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing that's so emphasized here. I mean, when you can just choke a guy out on the bridge, and you've got guys ready and waiting to pick him up, like you've got dead body patrol.
And also, you gotta think, like, his babysitter's gone. Tarkin's dead.
Very true. Well, yeah, and he's went through a couple of other ones if we read the comics, and yet the power of Vader is that, nope, he's got his mission.
Someone's trying to put him to bed, and he's like, no, you're not Tarkin.
Well, but what it, you know, and I'm going to mention the comics a couple of times just because it adds in, but...
You like comic books, you're a nerd.
I do. You know, and seeing, from the moment when he finds out about Luke to now, like, the in-between of that, just like, he is on a mission to get his son.
Yeah.
For selfish reasons, for bad reasons, but he is not letting anything get in his way. And we see some, like, watching this since rereading a lot of the comics, I see that in a lot of things where it's just like, he's just going ham. That's why he's driving his freaking Star Destroyer through asteroids, because he thinks Luke's with them, you know? It's all this, it's crazy how much that adds to the story, but even apart from that, you see, like, no, he's plowing through things. He's got a point, and he's going for it. And eventually, by the end of the film, we learned the whole point was he was trying to get his son. Yeah,
and that moment in the comics where Boba Fett is the one that tells Vader that, hey, you got a son, baby.
Well, yeah, I mean, he gives him the name, and it's Skywalker. He was the only one, so...
And then the moment where the glass around him starts cracking. Yeah. It's so great.
And so to go from there to here where he's... And that's what's... The 2 points that really stick out to me because of that, and again, we'll move on.
Sorry.
Is when, after Luke jumps rather than go with his father, there's just... You see the shoulders drop, you see Vader just watch as that's happening. And then later, after the Falcon escapes and jumps into hyperspace, he's on the bridge of the Executor, and he goes to walk away, but he turns back and looks again as if, like, that just happened. He
Yeah.
just got away.
Yeah.
Like, both times, he would rather escape than join me. He'd rather flee than come to me. And
Yeah.
it...
But then in the end, his son comes to him
His
anyway.
son, he will come to me?
Yes.
Yes! It's one of those moments where it's just like, oh, and the comics aren't the only thing to add to that, but it's just one of those moments where it's like, wow,
Yeah.
tragedy. So, all of it serves, I love Darth Vader.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, man. Such a good freaking character.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. My number 3 is pretty general. It's dialogue. I freaking love the writing and the dialogue and the delivery of said dialogue in this movie. Like, we talked about acting, but...
In universe.
Yeah, absolutely. And not just the dialogue, it does a great job of lore expansion and lore building and world building as a whole. Like, you really get a sense of how big the galaxy is and how big the Force is in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we see Luke with his blaster shield down in A New Hope.
Yeah.
Being a rowdy boy. And then we see him use the Force to beat the Death Star. That's a weird way of saying that.
Just punched it right in the chin.
Right in the chin, knockout button.
Pow, right in the kisser.
And then, in A New Hope, we see Vader choke a guy and Obi-Wan's cloak fall to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the extent of the Force we get until Empire, where, we see Luke bring his lightsaber to him, and we get, what's it called? Exposition, without it being too exposition-y. I think there's a lot of films that they overdo it with too much dialogue. But this film does a great way of showing you and telling you what you should be paying attention to.
Yeah. Well, because it's not just characters talking. It's about how in casual conversation things are built up. And, I mean, it shows everything from how big everything is to how big the relationships are. Because this can almost tie to acting as well, but I think of the Han and Leia argument on Hoth.
It's so
where
great.
people are just passing them by and all this,
And the looks on people's faces.
Right,
as
like, again. That's great in a way of not saying... You don't have to tell us how long they've been together and working together and that there's this tension. That alone tells us there's something going on deeper. It's all there, and it's kind of what you have to do in sequels.
Yeah.
You got to go bigger. You got to show newer. And
oh, absolutely. That's why that's one of the best kisses in film history on the Falcon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that this does a great job of lore building the universe, because, I mean, again, when we do try and... It's very difficult, but when we rewind back and we don't have everything we have now in terms of knowledge of Star Wars and everything, this is introducing a lot.
Yeah.
There's a whole planet where it just snows all the stinking time. There's they don't ride horses here. Apparently, they ride lizard creatures. And they stink. Apparently,
on the outside.
They have Yetis essentially.
Yeah.
They're
Wappa.
There's so much. I mean, you got the space slugs, you got the minor... There's all these things that go to say, like, hey, you thought you kind of knew this place.
Don't.
It's a whole bunch
so
bigger.
Much bigger.
And it keeps getting bigger. That's the crazy thing. And it's... Now, what's great about Star Wars is I think that no matter how big Star Wars gets, it never takes away from the fact that the people in it are always important. Mm-hmm. And I think that's an important lesson of Star Wars as well.
Exactly. I mean... My favorite bit of dialogue in this film is the entirety of Dagobah.
Yeah.
Like, you get Yoda, spinning this very long yarn about the Force, and then Obi-Wan kind of coming in and clarifying, hey, you need to understand this because this is important. Mm-hmm. And I just freaking love all of Yoda's dialogue, even the silly boy stuff.
Yeah. Well, and that's my number 3 is Yoda. Because I know you can't see the list. No, I'm just kidding.
Of course not.
Big surprise. No, I love Yoda. I love how much Yoda we get here. And even in spite of seeing the prequels and the Clone Wars and seeing that Yoda, like everyone else, makes mistakes and all this other stuff, you know, still when I think of goals in terms of, you know, just the kind of wisdom and person you want to be and the kind of moral person you want to be, Yoda's still top tier in that. And, you know, I mean, there's no way to dethrone him because he comes in and completely forms everything we now understand. You know, to this day, people are still working off of Yoda's dialogue here for what the Force is and what it does. And it's the greatest understanding we get of the Force from who arguably spent the most time getting to know it. And again, it doesn't make him perfect or anything, but Yoda's just so full of wisdom, so quotable.
Absolutely.
And it was so interesting to get all of this expanse. You know, you talk about the world building, it's that, like, this expanse of what it means to be a Jedi, what the Force is. You know, it's not just a power. It's an energy, it's a life force in everything. You know, what you're able to do is because of your connection with these things. That it's mind-boggling to think about, and we get it from, again,
a tiny
well-acted puppet. You know,
yeah. I mean, arguably, Yoda is one of the most important characters in the Star Wars universe. And the thing, like you said, the dialogue from him is fantastic. I think the two most important bits of wisdom to me are do or do not, there is no try, which is a big one for everyone, and that is why you fail, because you do not believe. If you can...
I mean, you can really talk endlessly about the wisdom in everything he says.
Exactly.
And Dagobah is some fundamental stuff for the character of Luke, and I think that when we apply Star Wars to ourselves to be better people, it can be fundamental to us as well. And that's why, as silly as it may sound, you know, we have books full of wisdom of a fictional character. I mean, it's been going on forever because it is meaningful. It means something, and it in some way sparks something in us to want to be better people because of a silly green puppet.
For Pete's sake, I've had quite the journey, I know we both have, with mental health. There's a lot of wisdom that comes from Yoda that can be applied to your mental health. Like the line of, you must unlearn what you've learned. You've taught yourself how to hate yourself. You've got to unlearn that behavior and learn new behavior to be, you know, more kind to yourself. There's so much that comes from Yoda that can be applied to everyday life, like we've said.
And so, I mean, Yoda's one of the greatest examples I give when it comes to, you know, why we should pay attention to fictional characters. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, they can teach us something. So, but yeah.
So, my number 2 is what I like to call the Bounty Boys. Which
Bounty Boys.
The Bounty Bunch. The Bounty Bunch. Yeah, we get in The Executor, I believe.
Yes, the Executor.
Thank you. We get this great shot of the bounty hunters. And that scene is so great for some reason. I have no idea why it's so fantastic to me. Because, like, you just get Dengar and Forlom and Zuckuss and Bosk and IG-88 and Boba, and they're all just, like, standing around listening to Dad. And just being like, okay, I see what you mean. And then the line of no disintegrations.
Right.
As you wish.
Right, there's such a history there.
That's such a great bit. I love it so much. And, of course, you know, seeing my boy is always nice.
Well, it introduced your boy.
It introduced my boy.
You would not have your boy if not for...
my drink container baby boy.
Yeah.
My mental husband.
if and I don't remember the name of the person, but the creature designer that was working on this, that pushed for, like, we need a chunky, metaled, tall, gruesome, like, we don't need the C-3PO look.
Yeah.
We need something that looks killer.
And he is.
Yeah.
Like, you see all of the weapons and all of the guns on IG-88, and you go, oh.
Well, and I think that's what's so great about it, is because it's such good visual storytelling. We don't get time with these. Even Boba, we really don't get much more of.
No.
So they've got to, like, we need people to see them and be interested in them. And then we don't introduce them again, like...
Yeah, at the end of the day, like, think of how many stories has come from this scene.
Oh, yeah.
We wouldn't have the great, thing about Zuckuss where he thinks he's a Force user.
Well, they believed that.
Yes.
If I'm remembering my EU correctly, they did believe that was their version of the Force kind of thing. They've since retconned it in canon to just be that they're really good at certain things like tracking and wayfinding and whatnot.
He's a Hufflepuff. He's a very good finder.
But at the end of the day, I mean, you could even still say that just like Han being a good pilot is in some way an association of the Force. I mean, really, they might have a connection to the Force. Just like the Night Sisters, they do have a connection to the Force, even though they call it magic. But it's all those things where it's just like somebody came up with that because they saw this bug-eyed dude in one scene in Empire Strikes Back. It's crazy. But and my number 2 is the Bounty Hunters as well. We've done this the last couple where we've shared something.
We just like a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and mine is most specifically because it introduced my favorite character, Boba Fett. He does get the most screen time, and he looks the coolest, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a jetpack. It's hard to compete.
That's...
But,
I have
and
a lot
much
to
like...
say about Mandalorians and their jetpacks.
Much like we wouldn't have the IG-88 stories and so many other bounty hunter stories without this scene. We wouldn't have Mandalorians without this scene. We wouldn't have a lot of what we have in terms of scum and villainy characters and archetypes if it weren't for this.
World's coolest ship.
Right? And so there's so much about this scene. Like I said, I think what's so great about it is because they say, hey, we're not doing a whole lot, but we need people to be super interested in who these guys are.
Yeah.
So make them look super interesting. I mean, it works.
It works.
It's so successful because so many people love bounty hunters because of this scene.
I'd say bounty hunters, for both of us, that's one of our favorite parts of Star Wars.
Well, because, I mean, as great as the powers and all that other extra stuff is, the bounty hunters are the most...
They're the coolest.
Right. Like, if we were dropped in the Star Wars galaxy, I think all of us could pretty feasibly pick up a blaster and be bounty hunters.
I mean, like, the bounty hunters themselves, they paved the way for characters like Embo and Sugi, my girl, and just... So cool, so interesting. I love it so much.
And it all started because of this scene.
All because of this
Crazy.
scene. Yeah. Alright. You remember how I made the joke last time, where I said my number 1's gonna be the same every time?
Yeah.
Han and Leia is my number 1.
Well, it's technically different because you added Han in the mix this time.
Yeah. I talked a little bit earlier about, the music, but specifically when I think of, when I think of my favorite bits of the score from Empire, when I'm listening to the soundtrack, because in my opinion, it has the best music. That's my opinion.
It's up there.
Yeah. Binary Sunset from A New Hope is above and beyond, but that's different. The scene of, the most famous kiss in my mind is that the music behind it of the like it's so great. It's my favorite bit of score.
Well, what I love is it's essentially Leia's theme,
Yeah,
so
but
Han gets to be there.
Exactly.
That you hear that one cymbal in the background? That's Han.
Yes, that's Han. Yeah, it's such a beautiful scene, and also just the bickering back and forth constantly. It's so real. they are the most real relationship to me because they are constantly at each other's throats.
Yeah, and they're a lot of fun, and they continue. I say continue, but really they build into what this becomes in the comics so well as well.
I mean, you got two of the most strong-willed characters
Yeah,
in the universe.
I was gonna say big personalities mingling and whatnot, but it's also nice. It's also a really great balance when you get into each of their characters a little bit more and everything. They're great. Han and Leia are just two amazing characters, and I think their love story is the best Star Wars has. Not the best couple, I'm just gonna say.
Yeah.
But their love story. I really enjoy their love story. Because here's the thing, most of the other relationships in Star Wars are already founded or going on by the time we're introduced. So it's kind of hard. Seeing them fall for each other is beautiful, I think. And,
Absolutely.
And
I mean, even when we get to that scene in The Force Awakens where, Han pulls her into the hug, and I'm just like, oh,
something
gosh.
about when they're together, like, even as believable as it is, as they had them having their rough patch and not working out and whatnot, them together still feels just so... Now, I'm not saying that means they should have stayed. Like I said, I agree with some of the decision-making of their difficult marriage.
Mm-hmm. It's accurate.
But they're that couple where it's like, you look at it and you're like, I know it doesn't work, but it works.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
There's no doubt in my mind that they loved each other until the end.
And that's what you get every time you see them together.
Absolutely.
They just fit so perfectly and work so wonderfully.
Yeah.
And of course you get the iconic line, I love you, I know.
Yeah. Yeah, we became that couple on this last trip to Disney where
we
bought
bought
the
hats. But I have to also throw in, I love the Chewie part of that. To this day, that's always... 2 times Chewie gets me in this movie, and it's when they shut the door when Han and Luke are still out in the cold, and Chewie loses it. And here, where he's just like, not my buddy. And, and people need to... It's cute and it's adorable, but you need to stop breaking my heart with using his line now with the princess you gotta look after. Like, it's killing me.
Stop it.
Emotionally, it's just it's a thing. So, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, Han and Leia,
they're fantastic.
they are fantastic.
Yeah, and
it's a good number 1.
If I keep talking, I'm going to keep going for a long time. So.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Well, that's what comment sections are for. Continue the conversations. But my number 1, to close it out, my number 1 is the Battle of Hoth.
Yeah.
And this is the reason I watched this movie the most as a kid. But it was something where it's like, I didn't turn it off after the battle. Like, I just kept watching, but I was there, locked in every time that the Battle of Hoth would come on. And to this day, it's one of those moments where, like, as it's going on, the music's playing and the action's happening, and I'm still like a big kid with it, going like, I just love it so much, and it's so much fun. And like I said, so much of the battle that we don't get much. I mean, arguably, until Attack of the Clones, we don't get this big. Well, kind of the Phantom Menace, but this scale and intensity of battle is just crazy. Yeah. But I loved it so much, and the unique look of the speeders. I love the air speeders. Of course, you get the AT-ATs, and you get a ton of great shots of them coming over the horizon and everything. You get General Veers, you get Darth Vader marching in. All kinds of great stuff. Yeah. And, I think I've shared multiple times at this point, but I loved this so much, and I would reenact it all the time as a kid. I had a white blanket, well, it was like white and blue, and I'd get a white blanket and lay it down in my room because that would be the snow, and I would have the figures, but I didn't have an AT-AT, so I made one out of Duplo blocks, and I would that was Star Wars to me constantly. I was constantly reenacting that battle for some reason. When I think of many things when I think of my love of Star Wars, but certainly when I think over the entirety of my life, the thing that's always brought me, you know, just excitement and joy when I think about Star Wars is that scene, and I mean, it's still
I mean,
so great.
it makes me so happy when we watch Star Wars to look over at your face when that scene comes on and just watching you watch it in full captivation.
Yeah.
Just like still loving it so much, and the sounds that you make when it's going on, it's so cute.
Yep. So, but that is our 10 things. That's the things we love about Empire Strikes Back. It feels like we just started 2 minutes ago, but in fact, we've been going on for like an hour now.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave it there, and again, encourage you guys to continue the conversation. Join us in it, in fact. If you're on Patreon, there's a comment section. If you're on YouTube, there's a comment section. So join us in the conversation and let us know what you love about Empire Strikes Back and all the other great films of Star Wars and whatnot. We certainly look forward to and love to hear from you. Thank you to Rebecca and Jim on Patreon. They are what help us do what we do, their support, their encouragement, and we're not just
Their
talking about their
friendship.
monthly giving. They do a lot to encourage and support us, and we appreciate you guys and what you do for us and how you're there for us. And so thank you so much for letting us continue to be able to do what we do. And again, we encourage anyone who's not on Patreon to check it out. Consider supporting us. If you love what we do and have been along with it for a while and would like to have a piece in supporting it, or a piece in collaborating and helping make it happen, we have many ways for that to happen over on Patreon, so we encourage you to check it out. Other than that, make sure that you're connected to us for all the other things that we do. Head to our YouTube channel page where you can find all the links to like our Facebook, our Twitter, our Twitch. We're going to be starting more gaming stuff soon. We got the new Vader Immortal that we're going to be breaking out soon, and a whole bunch of other things. So there's a lot of ways that you can connect with us, but make sure that you are checking that out. Make sure that if you are watching this on YouTube to like the video. And of course, again, we want to hear from you, so comment. And we would also appreciate if you would share it and let other people know that you love it, that you like it, and hopefully attract us new and greater listeners and viewers and all that good stuff. And subscribe for more of the great things that we're going to be doing, because after we get moved into our Rebel base, the current one is being demolished by AT-ATs, but once we move into the new one, then we will be blowing up our schedule again with all the things that you come to expect and enjoy from us.
Yeah.
Here on YouTube, that means different fun hangout videos. We're going to be doing a couple of live streams. We're going to be doing discussions on different Star Wars comics. We're going to be doing a lot of things. And we mentioned over on our Twitch, we're going to be doing streams. On our podcast, we're going to continue to do all the great things that we do, maybe even introducing new stuff, and all kinds of amazing things. So, subscribe here, follow there, all of that good stuff. Make sure that you're connected to us. And most of all, thank you for watching, listening, however you're receiving this. We appreciate you on the other end of it. Without you guys on the other side, we wouldn't have this.
Exactly.
We'd still have these conversations. But it's
Be
a
a lot
lot
more boring.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun when other people are on the other side listening and engaging and commenting and all that great stuff. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Make sure to let us know your 10 favorite things about Empire Strikes Back, and to check out all the other great things we're doing here at Nerdherder. In the meantime, though, have a great rest of whatever day it is today. I have been your herd leader, John Wayne.
And I've been your herd mom, Megan.
This has been Nerdherder, guys. Stay scruffy, and may the Force be with you.